Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music, and I've got another Gizmo Sunday for us. This time, Baby Audio's Tekno drum synthesizer. It's it's got these 18 pads, and these are models of drum generation sounds. So, like various kinds of pulse width modulation drums, FM drums, noise sources. It's all analog or FM modeling, and so we've got these really vital, lively, interesting sounds. Well, I want to take a look at the GUI and maybe listen to a few pads and programs. So let's dive into Tekno. All right, that was fun. Listen, this instrument's got a lot going on. Each of these 18 pads you see, for instance, kick A right here, is a separate sound generating synthesizer. Right now, kick A is selected. I'm playing it from my Ableton Move here. And I've got controls for it. Down here, specialized, what they call synthesized controls that allow me to really shape the sound of the instrument. You get it, right? As well as special effects tailored to that particular pad, saturation. Right? Killer sounds. Each of these is different. As I switch to kick B, I get a different set of instrument sounds. Down here to tonal, wow, suddenly, completely different, right? Let's make the decay longer. Lots of harmonics. Maybe a higher pitch. Each of these controls can also be assigned a CC value, which means I could modulate it and play it in real time. Let's take a look at some of the other things we can do here, just from a technical point of view. The gear wheel, the ever-present gear wheel, gives us important settings. Tooltips are on. Routing is interesting because instead of sending everything out main, I could set each individual drum sound to its own bus. Useful, yes. Now, we're going to talk about exporting individual samples in a moment, but that's going to be just really useful for creating new audio clips that we could maybe then flip into a drum machine. Velocity set. We've got controls for swing in case you haven't got controls over swing in your own, sequencer or whatever you're using to make things happen. The MIDI, it just tells you what note is playing the given sound. I mean, you can't really control anything here. Still, terrific, grateful for that. Over here, the dice thing means you can randomize almost anything or a lot of things all at once. So I can randomize all of these sounds as I'm looping, say this. Let's go ahead and randomize them. And I'll randomize them again. Let's randomize the snare. Let's randomize the clap. Everything. Each of these sounds is its own, sort of synth engine without getting too nutty synth-wise, I guess is what I would say. Let's look at the effects. Well, you know that we've got controls for synthesize. The ever-present gear icon gives me extra amounts of material to sort of change things. And, each drum synthesizer has a slightly different approach to creating the sound. I don't want to go into that details now, but it's a fascinating sort of school of thinking. But going over to effects, we've got all kinds of interesting effects, and each of them is tailored specifically to that sound. For instance, clap might need more saturation and compression. We've got controls over it, including filters like high cut and stuff, And then the snare is going to have a different set of things, and each of them will be tailored to it. I mean, that's super useful from my point of view. Down here, super easy to control. For instance, this snare right now is panned center. Let's just send it over to one side and then the other. Pretty cool. There's a ducker. There's a duck. So let's say we have a hi-hat. And I want to duck it whenever the kick drum hits. That's maybe kick A. Super easy to do. Whenever the kick drum hits, that hi-hat ducks. I don't remember if I programmed that hat or not. I think maybe my program was good and I didn't hi-hat on the kick. But you get the idea, right? Let's say you have a hi-hat going 16th, tick, 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 and you just want to duck it whenever your random kick hits. Super useful. And then just a volume knob for each of them. But we don't have to, work with just this, because over here we've got a whole mixer that gives us control over editing, muting, and soloing, as well as individual volumes. And individual volumes, super useful for that. We can also randomize that. It's so cool. The reverb's quite good, and it gives you detailed controls over the sound of the reverb, over the use of the limiter. You can limit everything. You can limit individual sounds. And then there's this great humanize factor. You can humanize the parameters of the sound, the quality of the sound. You can humanize the timing and accents. These are all things that are inherent in old school drum machines. And over the years, I have used so many old school drum machines, a sort of panoply of different things. And I love the way they sound because they are random sometimes, right? Let's listen to a few kits. I started with Richard Devine's basic kit. You heard that rolling. Easily, I can just bounce over to a new sound up here. And there are many, many patches. I love the dirt that we're getting in there. The saturation is just terrific. I mean, I have to say, I sort of like the tight sounding kits. Sort of lean towards that because, I came up in the 80s with drum machines. But some of this stuff is crazy modern. Teatros. Excellent there. Loving that. Take my word for it. There's tons of great sounds. I'm going to stop this. So some of these sounds, I'm going to find one I like. So I've settled on this tom sound. I'm going to just drag it into a track in Logic. Convert the file to my sample rate. And then I can control click and convert it to a new sampler track and just kind of turn it into a sampler. I can now play from the keyboard. Here I am. Right now it's mapped to C, but let's just... Now, obviously, that'd be super useful for 808s, right? You just get a kick drum, open the sampler, get to the mapping, so it's not just one sound, but several. Killer bass right away, right? Yeah, I mean, immediately cool. The ability to work with it like an old school instrument makes me super happy. The power of the individual synthesis engines is not complete, but it's pretty deep. Hit the randomize button, and we're in slightly more mellow mode. Well, that's a really quick look at Tekno from Baby Audio. It's I think it's on sale for a while, and I couldn't be more delighted by it. Like, sample drums are okay, and I have to say I wind up using sample drums or an actual drum kit more often than something like this, but because of my early education, I'm a sucker for a good snare sound. Well, Tekno. I hope this was useful. Like and subscribe and ding the bell to be notified when I do my videos. I'll see you next time.